still remember the day he first walked into the office. His name was Daniel, but no one ever called him that. To us, he was just Dan. Or more often, hey you. He was the kind of guy who blended into the background, the kind of person you'd forget about the moment he left the room. Quiet, unassuming, and always with this look in his eyes, like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. At first, we didn't think much of him. He was just another cog in the machine, another face in the sea of cubicles. But then the joke started. Small at first, harmless, or so we thought. Someone would leave a sticky note on his desk with a crude drawing, or they'd accidentally spill coffee on his reports. He never said anything, just cleaned up the mess and went back to work. It got worse, though, much worse. The guys in accounting started calling him Dan the Doormat because he never fought back. They'd make him run errands, pick up their lunches, even clean up after their messes in the break room. And then there was the day his wife left him. I'll never forget the look on his face when he came in that morning. His eyes were red, his hands trembling. Someone made a joke about it, and he just stood there, staring at the floor, like he was trying to disappear. That's when it started. First, it was small things. A file would go missing, a computer would crash, or someone's lunch would mysteriously end up in the trash. We didn't think much of it, just office pranks, right? But then the accidents started. One of the guys from accounting, the one who always called Dan names, tripped down the stairs and broke his leg. Another guy who loved to dump coffee on Dan's desk got into a car accident on his way home. And then there was the day Dan's boss, the one who always made him stay late, just disappeared. No one ever found out what happened to him. We all thought it was just a string of bad luck. But then I saw it. I was working late one night, trying to finish up a report, when I heard something, a low, guttural whisper coming from Dan's cubicle. I peeked over the partition, and there he was, sitting at his desk, staring at the wall. But he wasn't alone. There was something with him. It was hard to make out in the dim light, but it looked wrong. Its skin was too pale, too smooth, like it had never seen the sun. Its eyes were black, empty voids that seemed to suck in the light around them. And its mouth, it was too wide, filled with too many teeth. It was leaning over Dan, whispering something in his ear, and he was nodding along like he was agreeing with whatever it was saying. I must have made a noise because Dan turned his head, and for a moment our eyes met. There was something in his gaze, something cold, calculating. And then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile that made my blood run cold. I left the office that night and never went back. The next day, the news broke. A gas leak had caused an explosion in the office building. Dozens of people were dead, including everyone who had ever wronged Dan. But he wasn't among the victims. No one ever saw him again. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that thing I saw in the office. I wonder if it's still out there, whispering in someone else's ear, giving them the power to exact their revenge. And I wonder if Dan ever found peace, or if that thing is still with him, guiding him, feeding on his anger and pain. All I know is this: if you ever hear a whisper in the dark, don't listen. Because once you do, there's no going back.